Hi, welcome to Projecting Overview podcast brought to you by Tolumide. Hope you're having a good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Today we're going to be talking about assumptions. I know you're not thinking that it's gonna come out like that. Yeah, we're going to be talking about assumptions. A lot of us have assumptions. We have assumptions about things, about people, about places. We have assumptions about all these different things without even having a true knowledge, true information about these things. Okay? Assumption is something that is accepted to be true without no proof, without no prior knowledge. You have no evidence, you have no receipt to say this is actually true. You just make that assumption up saying, thinking this is actually true. A lot of us make assumptions based on our past experiences, based on ideas about certain things, based on things that we've seen happen in the past, and we're like, yeah, it's got to be like that, without taking any further step to look into that thing deeply. And the easiest thing to make in this world is assumption. You don't even need to do anything, just fill in the blank spaces. Think about that thing in your head and you're like, yeah, that's it. Like back in secondary school, back in primary school, when they ask you to fill in the blank spaces and they say I blank space to college, to school, to college or to school yesterday. But because your friend wrote I ran to school yesterday, in your head you're like, yeah, it's gotta be that. Like, yeah, I ran to school. It could have been I walked to school yesterday. But because you already made that assumption in your head that it's gotta be this, it's gotta be that thing, without no proof, you just jump into conclusion and you just come to that. It's like when you have a contract, and I know every one of us do this. We don't read the terms and the conditions. We assume they're not going to give us a contract that will go against us. When you skip that terms and conditions and go into the bottom page where it says signs, you just click continue and you just continue it. That's what assumption is like. You don't even need to read. You don't go through the pages. You don't go through the information that is there. You just fill in the blank spaces with your ideas or with your past experience. Your interpretation comes from your past experience. This is like something that is quite relative to what has happened to you in the past, or a similar situation that you've had with regards to that situation, and then you don't even need to look elsewhere. You just jump into conclusion that this is what it's got to be. It's actually it has to be this. Even people that have true knowledge, that have information about that particular thing, it could be anything, they start to like second guess themselves, like, is this actually true? Like, say for example, like in the night it gets dark, the night is dark, like it's black, and you're saying nah, it's yellow. People are starting to think, because you're so confident to the point that like, no, it's gotta be yellow, it can't be black, the night can't be dark, it can't be black, it has to be yellow. And then people that already has this information, people that know this glaring information, are going to not start second guessing themselves, are like, yeah, because you're so sure, like no one can tell you anything. You already know this in your mind. You've come to the conclusion. You've made that assumption in your mind. You've come to that conclusion. So what's anyone going to tell you? Like, if the night is yellow, is yellow. I mean, if that's what you're saying is what it is, then that's what it is. Who can tell you anything? For example, when someone tells you something about someone, you haven't had any sort of like interaction with this person, but you already have an assumption of them based on what someone already told you about them. It's like someone tells you this guy steals, like it steals everything around people. Like when you can't stay around him, it still things. You're not asking questions, but because of what this person has told you, when you eventually get the opportunity to meet this person, you're gonna start hiding your things. You're not even gonna ask questions. Maybe you're like, oh, you're right, and then once he gives you a handshake, you're trying to put your phone in your pocket, like man's trying to steal your phone. Maybe the only encounter that person had with that person, with the person that gave you that information, was like he accidentally put his phone in his pocket. I don't know. That could happen, innit? That could be the scenario this person had with the person that gave you the information. But because you already made up your mind that, no, if I see this guy, when I eventually get to talk to this guy, I'm putting all my things away. It better not steal my phone. It better not touch any of my things. But all I'm saying is, you need to get your facts right before jumping into conclusion. Assumptions make us lazy. When we make assumptions, we become myopic. We're just limited to the information around us. It makes us lazy. Can't even be bothered to go do a research like fam, that guy, did you actually say it steals? So yeah, let's go find out the people he's stealing their things. Like, do you know what I mean? That's just an example. But what I'm saying is assumptions make us myopic. It gives us limited information about people, about things, about just anything that we make assumptions about. Assumptions make us have a negative mindset. And this is because of our past, or relative experience, which are quite negative. So every time we make assumptions, this is because of the past experience we've had, and there's no way we're going to make an assumption that it would not bring us back to the old idea, to the old information, to the old experience we've had. So it just gives us that negative vibe, that negative energy, that negative mindset about things, about just anything that we're making assumptions about. Assumptions then become a habit, because when we assume, it's just like, when you're too lazy to do something, then it starts to become a part of you. That's the same way assumptions creeps in. When we assume a lot, we just can't be bothered to find out information. And the thing about that is that the more you assume, the easier it becomes for you to start making them. Like, when you start making more assumptions, like, yeah, I got away with that, like, I'll make another one. And you make an assumption about other things, and it just becomes a part of you, and then you just keep going non-stop. No one can stop you now. Just keep going, just going with it, run with it, just keep running with it. Even people know, like, it's like people not exaggerate. We can like sideline it with exaggeration, but really and truly that is still assumption, because you exaggerate, you make it look bigger than what it is, or you just don't have the full information about that actual thing. Assumptions are always wrong. When you do not have the full information about something and you make assumptions, you are always going to be wrong, because you do not have the full information about that particular thing. Instead of making assumptions, just ask questions. Just go about asking questions. If it comes to a point where you just need to, do your research, go for it. I mean, it's better not to say something that you know nothing about than completely talk things that you absolutely have no clue about, because at the end of the day, you're going to be wrong about that thing when the full information, the full truth comes out about that scenario, or about that situation. And when you make your research, when you don't make assumption about something, or when you don't assume at all, you have a better knowledge, you have a better information about that thing. You're better equipped to come out with argument. When people argue and when they come with facts, like, these people have been studying, they've been researching, they've been reading, they've been doing a lot of extensive reading. That's because they've done their research. But you want to get into that same debate without no knowledge, or you have no knowledge, no idea about that same thing, and you're trying to you just make assumptions, then it makes you look stupid. But the more you start researching and you start reading and trying to, rather than jump into conclusion, you make your research, you make your findings. It keeps you informed. It gives you a better information about that thing. And even with that gives you the advantage to pass on information to people that don't know. When people are, there's this saying that I don't necessarily need to agree with you, but I can understand where you're coming from. Even though people might not have a clear understanding of what that thing is about, or what you're talking about, what was about or is about. At least they have a knowledge about it. It gives them that opportunity to then know about that thing, or to know about that situation or the scenario that you're in. When you have a full information about that situation, people get to know more about it, rather than you making assumptions and you're misleading them, especially when you're in a position to pass on knowledge to other people. Let us know what assumptions you've made in the past, because I know we all make assumptions. Let us know what assumptions you've made in the past. Let us know the ones that you're planning to make, because if it's a part of you, it's a part of you. You can't easily get rid of it, but now you can start to lessen it down a bit, or you just completely stop making assumptions about things and find your knowledge and find your truth. My Bible tells me that I will know the truth and it will set me free. So instead of just making assumptions, just go and make your findings and know the truth. That keeps you informed, or that gives you knowledge about that same thing. Listen to us on all our social media platforms. at Projecting Overview Podcast on Instagram, on SoundCloud, on YouTube. And until next time, have a good one.